Stop, this is hard to watch. A Hollywood star humiliated in public. Cruel insults echoing through a packed shopping mall. Phones up, people laughing. No one stepping in. Ana de Armas froze silent, exposed, embarrassed. Then suddenly, everything changed. One man walked forward. No security. No cameras planned. What Tom Cruise did next left the entire mall speechless, and it exposed an ugly truth about us all. It was supposed to be a quiet afternoon, one of those rare moments when fame could be left behind, even if just for an hour. Ana de Armas, one of Hollywood's most admired and recognizable actresses, walked into a popular shopping mall with a simple goal: to feel normal. No red carpets, no flashing cameras, no scripted smiles. Just a casual day like anyone else. She was dressed down, wearing comfortable clothes, minimal makeup, and carrying herself with a calm, relaxed demeanor. At first glance, she blended in more than people expected. To some, she was just another shopper moving between stores. But fame has a way of revealing itself no matter how carefully it tries to hide. It didn't take long. A few curious glances lingered longer than usual. Then came the whispers. "Is that her?" someone asked quietly. Another person stopped walking, stared for a moment, and reached for their phone. Within seconds, more eyes turned in her direction. Phones came out. Screens lit up. Cameras clicked. What started as harmless curiosity slowly transformed into something heavier. The excitement in the air shifted. Some people smiled, hoping for a closer look. Others whispered assumptions. A small crowd began forming, feeding off the attention of the moment. Then it crossed a line. A small group of individuals began making insensitive remarks. At first, the comments were subtle, quiet enough to sound like jokes, sharp enough to hurt. They commented on her appearance, questioning why she didn't look perfect like she did in movies. Others mocked her career choices, suggesting she was overrated. A few went even further, making personal remarks about her private life. As if fame gave them permission, Ana heard it all. She tried to ignore them, fixing her eyes on the store displays in front of her, pretending to read price tags she didn't care about. She adjusted her posture, took a slow breath, and attempted to move forward. But discomfort has a way of showing itself, no matter how hard someone tries to hide it. Her expression changed. The ease in her face faded. Her shoulders tightened. This wasn't a role she was playing. This was real. What made the moment even more painful was the silence around her. People watched. Some recorded. Others glanced away, uncomfortable but unwilling to intervene. In moments like these, celebrities are often expected to smile through it, stay quiet, and move on as if public disrespect is part of the job description. Ana had faced criticism before. Every public figure has. But this was different. This was personal, public, and unavoidable. And just when it seemed like she would have to endure it alone, when the weight of the moment felt at its heaviest, something changed. This time, the story was not going to end the way it usually does. Something different was about to happen. As Ana moved deeper into the mall, the atmosphere around her began to shift. The whispers were no longer hidden. The comments were no longer subtle. What had started as quiet judgment now grew bolder with every step she took. A few individuals, emboldened by the attention and the presence of others, began mocking her openly, laughing, pointing, and making remarks they would never dare say in private. They assumed she would do what celebrities are expected to do: stay silent, ignore it, and keep walking. After all, how many famous faces had endured the same treatment before her? To them, this wasn't cruelty, it was entertainment. The crowd felt it. Tension spread through the space like an electric current. Some people slowed their pace, pretending to browse nearby stores while secretly watching. Others locked eyes with Ana for a moment, then quickly looked away, uncomfortable but unwilling to get involved. A few raised their phones higher, capturing the scene as if it were part of a show. Ana felt it all. Her body language changed almost instantly. The natural flow of her movement stiffened. Her shoulders tightened, as if she were trying to make herself smaller. The gentle smile she had worn just minutes earlier faded completely. Her eyes no longer scanned the mall, they searched for an exit. This wasn't a performance. This wasn't a character from a film. This was real discomfort, unfolding in real time. For someone who spends her life portraying strong, confident women on screen, fighters, leaders, survivors, this moment exposed a fragile side of fame that audiences rarely see. No script, no director, no second take, just a human being standing in the middle of a public space. Absorbing words meant to cut. What made it worse was where it was happening. This wasn't an online comment section, where cruelty hides behind anonymous usernames. This wasn't a rumor whispered from afar. This was face-to-face, in broad daylight, surrounded by strangers who could see her reaction, hear the insults, and choose whether or not to intervene. And most chose not to. Every second stretched longer than the last. The air felt heavy. Ana slowed her pace, unsure whether stopping would make things worse or continuing would draw more attention. The mall, once filled with light and movement, now felt closing and uncomfortable. Then something shifted. From just a few steps away, someone had been watching closely, not filming, not whispering, not pretending to browse. Someone who saw the tension, recognized the discomfort, and understood that this moment had crossed a line. That person noticed everything. The tightening of Ana's shoulders, the way her smile disappeared, the cruel confidence in the voices around her. And unlike the others, he didn't look away. He stepped forward. That someone was Tom Cruise. And in that instant, the balance of the entire situation began to change. Without hesitation, Tom Cruise moved toward Ana. There was no rush in his step, no anger in his expression, but there was certainty. In a space filled with noise, phones, and restless energy, his calm presence stood out immediately. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't demand attention. And yet, attention found him. The atmosphere changed the moment he arrived at her side. Tom positioned himself beside Ana, close enough to offer support, firm enough to send a message. It was a simple gesture, but it spoke louder than words. She wasn't isolated anymore. She wasn't facing the moment alone. Anyone watching could feel the shift, as if an invisible line had been drawn. He turned toward the individuals responsible. His voice was steady, controlled, and unmistakably serious. There was no dramatic confrontation, no aggressive posturing, just quiet authority. Witnesses later described it as more powerful than shouting. His words weren't insults. They weren't threats. They were clear, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. He reminded them that admiration never gives anyone the right to disrespect another person. That fame does not make someone less human. That public recognition is not permission for public humiliation. His message was simple, but it landed with weight. The individuals, who moments earlier had been loud and confident, suddenly fell silent. The smirks disappeared. Eyes dropped. What once felt like entertainment now felt exposed. Around them, the crowd reacted almost instantly. The mall, once filled with whispers and cruel curiosity, went quiet. Phones that had been raised for gossip slowly lowered or shifted direction. What people were recording had changed. This was no longer about mocking a celebrity. This was about witnessing a moment of integrity. Ana's reaction was subtle, but undeniable. Her posture eased. Her breathing slowed. The tension in her shoulders softened. She looked up, met Tom's eyes briefly, and nodded an unspoken acknowledgement. Not of rescue, but of solidarity. She didn't need to be saved. She needed support. And in that moment, she had it. For the first time since the incident began, Ana felt seen, not as a public figure, but as a person. That single act shifted the entire mood of the mall. Strangers who had been silent moments earlier now stood taller. Some nodded in approval. Others created space, allowing Ana room to breathe. The cruelty that had filled the air dissolved, replaced by an uncomfortable awareness of what had just happened. Tom didn't linger. He didn't wait for applause or recognition. He stayed beside Ana, just long enough to ensure the message was clear and that the moment was over. And in doing so, he turned an uncomfortable incident into something meaningful. Not a headline, not a scandal, but a reminder that dignity matters, that silence enables cruelty, and that sometimes the most powerful response isn't loud, it's calm, respectful, and unwavering. In the middle of a shopping mall, surrounded by strangers and cameras, one choice changed everything. Within minutes, the energy inside the mall completely transformed. What had once felt tense and uncomfortable now began to soften. People who had stayed silent and hesitant, afraid to get involved, started showing support in quiet but meaningful ways. Some nodded in approval. A few offered gentle applause, not loud enough to draw attention, but sincere enough to be felt. Others stepped forward to help create space, forming a subtle barrier that gave Ana privacy and a sense of safety. The individuals who had been mocking her just moments earlier slowly retreated. Their voices disappeared. Their confidence faded. What once felt bold now felt exposed. Without confrontation or drama, they blended back into the crowd, avoiding eye contact, as if hoping the moment would erase itself. But it didn't, because the story didn't end in the mall. Within hours, short video clips of the incident began circulating online. The footage wasn't shaky chaos or exaggerated outrage. It was calm, clear, and deeply human. And unlike the usual celebrity scandals that dominate timelines, this one told a different kind of story. Social media reacted almost instantly. Instead of insults or mockery, comment sections filled with praise. People applauded Tom Cruise not for his fame, but for how he used it. Many pointed out that true influence isn't about power or status, but about knowing when to speak and when to stand beside someone who needs support. Just as importantly, waves of empathy poured in for Ana de Armas. Viewers across the world shared how uncomfortable it was to watch someone be publicly humiliated. Others reflected on how often celebrities are expected to tolerate disrespect simply because they live in the spotlight. Fame doesn't cancel feelings, one comment read. Another said, "No one deserves to be treated like this, famous or not." The moment sparked something bigger than a viral clip. A larger conversation began unfolding across platforms, workplaces, and living rooms. People started asking uncomfortable but necessary questions. Why do we normalize cruelty toward public figures? Why do we excuse harsh behavior as part of fame? And why does kindness feel so rare that it shocks us when it happens in public? For many viewers, this story stopped being about Tom Cruise or Ana de Armas altogether. It became a mirror. People saw themselves in the crowd, the ones who watched, the ones who recorded, the ones who stayed silent. And they asked themselves what they would have done in that moment. Would they have spoken up? Would they have stepped in? Or would they have looked away, hoping someone else would act? That's what made this moment powerful. It wasn't about celebrity culture. It wasn't about Hollywood. It was about humanity. It reminded millions that respect should never be optional, and that standing up for someone doesn't require fame, only awareness and courage. Sometimes, the smallest actions creating space, showing support, refusing to laugh can completely change the outcome of a moment. And when kindness is finally shown, it doesn't just stop cruelty. It spreads. This story didn't go viral because of shouting, chaos, or scandal. It didn't spread because of controversy or manufactured drama. It went viral for a far rarer reason: humanity. In a digital world obsessed with outrage, this moment stood out because it showed something we don't see enough of: respect in action. Ana de Armas didn't need to be saved. She didn't need a hero or a headline. What she needed, and what every person deserves, was basic human dignity. And Tom Cruise didn't step in to look powerful or brave. He didn't perform for cameras or seek applause. He simply acted like a decent human being. That quiet choice is what gave the moment its power. In an age where insults are often dismissed as jokes and cruelty is normalized as entertainment, this incident reminded us of something important. Kindness should not be surprising. Empathy should not be rare. And standing up for someone should never feel extraordinary, but sadly, it often does. What made this moment resonate with millions wasn't who was involved, but what was at stake. It exposed an uncomfortable truth. We live in a time where public humiliation is often ignored, excused, or even encouraged, especially when the person on the receiving end is famous. There's an unspoken belief that fame cancels pain, that recognition replaces respect. This moment proved otherwise. It showed that standing up for someone doesn't require violence. It doesn't require power, money, or status. It requires awareness, the ability to recognize when something is wrong, and the courage to refuse silence. That's it. For this channel's audience, the message is simple, but deeply important. Silence supports cruelty, but speaking up can change everything. Every time we look away, laugh it off, or record instead of respond, we become part of the problem. But every time we choose to stand beside someone calmly, respectfully, we shift the balance. Whether you're a global superstar or an everyday person walking through a mall, the responsibility is the same. Defending dignity is not a celebrity privilege, it's a human one. And maybe that's why this moment felt bigger than any movie scene Tom Cruise has ever filmed. There was no script, no director, no second take, just a real situation, real people, and a real choice made in real time. That's what made it unforgettable. So if this story moved you, let it do more than just entertain you. Let it remind you that the world doesn't need more spectators. It doesn't need more phones raised in silence. It needs more people willing to stand beside someone when it matters most, even when it's uncomfortable, because sometimes the smallest act of courage can make the biggest difference.